Mr. Arritt.
I think I'll start out there, and I think if Erica, I think if she's got anything to add, we'll give her some time to add that in. There's two meetings the Joint School Services Committee had on August 22nd and September 5th, so I'll kind of briefly go over both. The August 22nd meeting was an organizational meeting for the committee. It was held at the Red Train Depot here in Covington. Jacob Wright was named the chairman and I was named the vice chair. Following the organization, the committee discussed a range of topics, including the need for data concerning salary equalization between the two divisions, the desire to have both division superintendents and each governing body's executive present at all meetings, and a December 19th goal to have a formal consolidation proposal submitted to the Department of Education.
Excuse me, could you repeat that last part?
The December 19th goal of having basically to be able to submit our proposal to the Department of Education, because that's, to the best of my understanding, that's where it all has to start. We have to take what we talk about and use that, put that into a plan, and then that has to be sent to Richmond for the Department of Education's approval. So that's our goal tentatively, is to get something in place by December 19th. There was discussion at that meeting. There was an invitation from WSLS in Roanoke for us to give an interview, the committee as a whole. We talked about that, and the consensus was basically we're way too early in the process to really give much. We can give hopes and dreams, but that's about the bulk of it. So we all sort of collectively declined to do any interview at this point. The September 5th meeting was held at the Allegheny Highlands Regional Library. A lengthy discussion of potential advantages and obstacles to school consolidation was had. A clarification of recent news segments that were aired on regional networks. WSLS had a short blurb apparently that aired, and there was some confusion as to whether, I just finished telling you, we said we weren't going to do an interview, and then we had things on Channel 10. Essentially, they used just publicly available information and then crafted that, put it out there, and then I think there were some folks, both on our committee and then in the public, that were like, wait a minute, where did this come from? So, is what it is. Media will be media, no offense, Jerry. So we clarified that was not anything unauthorized or anything. We followed with a discussion, just basically some members of the committee were trying to make sure we had the proper scope and boundaries to, what we would ask legal and research folks to do. So we went over that. There was some discussion. Essentially, going to use some of what was a discussion from some of the advantages or the pros was used to come up with things. Cost assessments, the pay equalization, which is obviously central to all of it, down to title transfer, division, that sort of stuff, the legal aspects of it, making sure essentially that the committee has proper control over what any contractors, anybody that we ask to do work for us. It is important that we're good stewards of the public money, so we were discussing that. So that is essentially, we adjourned after that. Again, the bulk of the discussion was the pros and the cons there. So,
Ms. Hunter, you have anything you'd like to add?
I was just going to say that the search for the attorneys and whatever their pay is going to come out the money that was given, the $400,000.
oh yeah.
So that was important for everybody to know.
Right.
That's how it would be paid for.
Okay, anything else?
Well, I'd like to bring up one thing. There was a question asked by Mr. Mayor Tom Sabol about how much it costs per division to educate students, and I gave what the Department of Education provides annually on their website, and I'd just like to pass out some information about that.
Per pupil.
Per pupil expenditures.
It was like
Virginia,
It was like 10,000 and 11,000 in the state. I don't have that document with me, but
the Virginia Department of Education publishes the per pupil cost for all school divisions. They do this as a result of the annual school financial report, which is due at the end of September. So you don't really get it. This is for 2018. We won't really get it for 2019 until
yes.
March, I would say, of 2020. But this is what it is
Yes.
for last year. And quite frankly, it doesn't change significantly.
Okay.
I would say it ranges anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000, something like that per pupil.
So what you have in the document is the Alleghenies highlighted there at the beginning, their school division 003, and then we're on the second page, we're school division 107, and what they do is they take the end of year ADM and they determine the cost per pupil, and they use the local dollars and they use the state dollars and they use the state retail tax and use tax, federal, and they come up with the expenditures for operations and the per pupil expenditure. So you can look across the line for Allegheny, and their per pupil expenditure at the last column is $11,952 per student. And then if you look at our column, it's $11,418, and I believe that's what I reported to Mr. Seibold, and he questioned whether that should be a little bit higher. I'd like to share this document with the committee with you all's permission. But then Rebecca did a nice little table at the back, and she showed the total per pupil expenditures for operations for fiscal year 2018 for the communities surrounding us, Covington, Allegheny, Bath, Craig, and Buena Vista. And then she also put the state average. So you could just see in a nice format what it is for us, and it's very nice and clear. And I would like to send this to the committee if you thought so, Mr. Arritt and Ms. King.
I think
And I'll
that's
just point
important.
out that they don't really use the official ADM. I think they include pre-K in there, they
I think they
include
do.
other students in there. Because you would have to if you're going to get the,
Yeah.
if you're going to compare to the total budget, you wouldn't just use the March 31st.
So if my math is right, we're only $534 between the two systems.
It's not a big
Right.
difference, and we're not very far off the state average as well. Because I think the state per pupil expenditure on the bottom of page 3 is $12,548 per student, and so we are below what the state average is. Us at 11,418 in Allegheny and 11,952. So we are below that, state average. And then I don't know, there's been a lot of nice articles in the newspapers about coverage of the joint school committees, and there's also been articles on Mr. Clark's Allegheny Journal. And then in the Roanoke Times on this past weekend and the Sunday Times, they talked about assessing the local ability to pay. I don't know if anyone saw that. And they also talked about how the state uses this figure right here to talk about how localities can face too much to tackle at one time, particularly in areas that they're trying to build new schools and they're having a tough time coming up with the funding. And it also talked about measuring ability to pay and fiscal stress on a locality. So it was a nice article. I don't know if I like to read what other areas. We are fortunate in this community that we have two governments that do support public education in the way that they do. So just some more information to think about as we move forward into this this new journey that being explored in the community.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to thank you all for the report, and you as well, Melinda and Rebecca. Thank you for that chart on the back.
Yeah.
That is
Thank you.